Hello everybody and welcome back to Random Vids. So, it's about time that we finally get back to talking about one of my absolute favorite shows of all time, SpongeBob. It's been a hot minute. It's been about a year, honestly, since I talked anything SpongeBob when I rated all the Season 4 episodes. Well, we're back, and today we're going to be rating all the SpongeBob Season 5 episodes. Also, speaking of which, I'm going to give a shout out to my good friend Connor O'Brown. Dude, I'm sorry. I really want to get to talking about Season 13. Last summer, I got to watch all the episodes, throughout, but I was just super busy, and I didn't get a chance to do a SpongeBob rating or whatever of Season 13, so I'm going to try again this year. I'm going to try to watch all the episodes, watch throughout Season 13 again this year, over the summer, and then hopefully this time I'll actually come out with some sort of video. So thank you for the patience, thank you for waiting. I do want to do a video about Season 13 sometime. I've just been too busy, and honestly I forget what some of the episodes are, so I figured it's better that I just rewatch it one more time before I do any rating. So I hope for now you can enjoy Season 5. Speaking of Season 5, this is honestly where the show started to fall downhill big time. I mean, not all episodes were bad, but we definitely started to get a few stinkers here and there. And a lot of the characters started becoming a little one-dimensional, and we started getting a lot more of that Patrick just being annoying, and Squidward torture was not fun. So, yeah, let's get started with the very first episode. Friend or Foe? For some reason, this episode always reminded me of The Algae is Always Greener from Season 3, and I guess in a way it kind of gives some similarities in a way, but this is a completely different episode, and it's basically just the backstory of Mr. Krabs and Plankton, and how they became enemies, and honestly, I think it's a really great introduction to Season 5, and just a great episode all around. So, let's start with... We're going to start with an A tier, I think. Yeah, I know, I can't believe that either. A tier for Friend or Foe. Next we have the original Fry Cook. This one is a very interesting one. We meet, I don't remember his name, but apparently he's better than SpongeBob at cooking Krabby Patties. I feel like it's a little out of character for the show to just randomly introduce this random character who somehow is better than SpongeBob at Krabby Patties, when the whole series is focused on SpongeBob being the best at Krabby Patties. But I will say, it's fun seeing the flashbacks, and I love seeing parts like Squidward with hair. I don't know, parts of this episode are funny, other parts just doesn't really make sense. But I guess overall this episode gets about a B. The next episode is Night Light. Ooh, this one's actually a pretty interesting one as well. It's simple, SpongeBob's afraid of the dark, so he spends the whole episode lighting his whole house up at night, and it gets to the point that even Patrick is afraid, so they just end up camping out instead. Honestly, for a Season 5 episode, this is another, banger. So, yeah, I may say Season 5 isn't one of my favorites, but the first 3 episodes in this season actually aren't half bad. I also like how Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy just randomly appear in this episode. Yeah, it's a very random episode, but it's also a really funny one, too. I'd give this one also an A. Next up, we have Rise and Shine. I feel like this is one of those episodes that could be gone really well, but in execution, it just turns out to be very just meh. So it focuses on Patrick and his daily routine in the morning as he wakes up. Trust me, this isn't the last time that we are going to see episodes like this. And honestly, it's very boring, especially since Patrick's character isn't necessarily the same as it was in before. Now it's just him rambling around doing random stuff. So this episode is just kind of boring, honestly. I think it'd be more interesting if we saw maybe everyone else in Bikini Bottom rising and shining. So on paper this is a great episode, but in execution it's a very boring episode. So I think this gets at nicest a C-, and if I'm feeling mean, then it gets a D. It's somewhere in between that. I'd say it's about probably like a little below average. Next episode we have is Waiting. Well, one thing's for sure, I'm waiting for this episode to be over with. Honestly, this, in my opinion, might be my least favorite episode from Season 5. That I can think of. I don't know. Once we go through this season, I'll see if Waiting is still my least favorite. Well, you thought Rise and Shine was boring. Well, this episode is even worse. It's just SpongeBob literally just waiting for a package to arrive. It's so dumb. And you can tell this is episodes like this. You can tell is where the writers really started to doze off at this point and just threw their hands up and just did something. And honestly, SpongeBob's kind of a jerk in this episode too. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this one. I think this gets an F tier. Next episode we have is Fungus Among Us. So the first 3 episodes of season 5 are actually pretty good, but these last 3 that we've talked about, oof. That's all I gotta say there. Fungus Among Us. I am really mixed on this episode. On one hand, I guess it's definitely, at least it's an interesting episode. On the other hand, it is definitely more of a grosser type of episode too, where SpongeBob gets this fungus and it just spreads throughout basically the whole Krusty Krab. But then Gary eats the fungus, so there you go. There's your episode. Yeah, definitely once again another weaker episode of Season 5. I almost forget half the time that this is an episode. It's just a very dull episode compared to some others. It's not the worst thing I've seen, but it's not my favorite. And Patrick's annoying in this episode, so I think this one's deserving of a D tier. Next up we have Spy Buddies. Okay, this episode is actually, not half bad. It's basically SpongeBob and Patrick spying on Plankton. And it's then revealed that Plankton and Mr. Krabs switched lives for the day. Or switched lives to see if, Mr. Krabs could still win, which he still does as Plankton, which is pretty funny. Plus, it's fun seeing SpongeBob and Patrick go on an adventure together where they're not just torturing Squidward or just being downright buffoons. So, this is actually a pretty interesting episode, and Patrick's stupidness isn't annoying this time around. I think B for Buddies the B for Buddies gives it B tier. No, I'm just kidding. The Buddies doesn't give it B. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Moving on. Next up, we have Boat Smarts. Something interesting about Season 5 is that it has tons of, shorter episodes. Rise and Shine, and now this. Now, this one, while I think is probably a little better, it's not much better. It's mostly just their excuse to use Squidward torture. And once again, it doesn't make sense because Squidward doesn't necessarily deserve it. But I guess it isn't quite as annoying as other Squidward torture episodes. It's more just SpongeBob being a bad driver and Mrs. Puff telling the audience what not to do on the roads, basically. SpongeBob is our bad driver. However, there is an episode very similar to this, I think in season 13, that I don't remember the name of, but it's similar to this one, which I think is very bizarre that they copied this episode. But you see, I gotta rewatch that season again so I can see if it's better than Boat Smarts or not, because it's basically the same episode from what I can remember, just with a few little tweaks and stuff. Plus they have part of what feels like Boat Smarts in the one episode from season 11 that I forget the name of, where Mr. Krabs and Plankton are in bonus go together. But yeah, overall, very average episode. I'd give it a C. Next up we have good old What's His Name? Yeah, here's another episode I'm not really a big fan of. It's basically just Squidward and SpongeBob trying to basically do a weird contest in the Krusty Krab to see who can guess everyone's name faster, and then whoever does gets a free vacation, or that's what Mr. Krabs says. So the two go insane trying to find out what this guy's name is, but it's what's it to ya? I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this one, and seeing Squidward thrown in jail and be gypped of vacation feels stupid. Yeah, definitely another weaker episode of season 5. This one probably would also get an F or a D-. Next we have New Digs. Okay, so this one's actually a fairly interesting one. This one's the one where SpongeBob stays at the Krusty Krab because he's afraid of being late to work. Honestly, it's a very interesting concept, and it honestly works really well with a bunch of funny situations, like how SpongeBob takes a shower and how he does his laundry. It's a really creative and funny episode. I love the ending where Squidward moves into the Krusty Krab. Wow, okay, we actually have another great Season 5 episode. This gets an A tier as well. Next up we have Krabs a la mode. Ooh, I remember watching this one before as a kid and really enjoying just the plot of this episode and just the theming of it. And seeing it, many, many years later, I still agree with myself. I think it's a really great and hilarious episode. Basically, it's simple. Mr. Krabs will not let anyone touch the thermostat. But Plankton interferes and turns it that it's freezing cold. So it's neat seeing the restaurant just being this big giant ice rink. And I love all the different plot stories that are going on. Like the hockey players, Squidward just trying to skate, Plankton trying to steal the patty, and SpongeBob trying to stop him, all while Patrick's tongue is stuck to a pole. It just all makes perfect sense, and I love the end where they change it into a swimming pool as well. So, yeah, honestly, this is probably one of, if not my favorite episodes from Season 5. So, because of that, I think this gets an S tier. Next we have Roller Cowards. Okay, never mind. This, I think, is my favorite episode from Season 5. This episode is just so fun. I love the episodes where SpongeBob and Patrick are at Glove World, just because it's fun seeing them, just ride the rides and have a fun time. So, we didn't get to see much of that in the other seasons, so glad we got to see an episode where they're actually riding a lot of rides. And man, this episode's funny with them being scared of the roller coaster and even being scared of this tiny little baby roller coaster with like one tiny drop. It's hilarious. Plus, they still get to ride the coaster at the end of the day, so I think this episode is a really great one, and in my opinion, I think I'm going to call it my favorite episode from Season 5, unless there's another one that I forgot about that we'll see later, but man, this one is just jam-packed full of fun stuff, so for Season 5, it's actually, a really great episode. This one gets an S. Next up, we have Bucket Sweet Bucket. Another great episode. Okay, maybe Season 5 isn't quite as bad as I thought. Well, for now. Anyway, this episode, it's basically SpongeBob Patrick redecorating the chum bucket for Plankton, and even Squidward joins in at some point too, which is funny. It gets to the point where they basically just move the Krusty Krab over to, where Plankton used to live. And if this is Plankton's scheme to steal the Krabby Patty formula, well, this got to be one of his more creative schemes, honestly. It's an interesting episode and fun, and just a fun time overall. So this would also get an A tier. Next up, we have To Love a Patty. This one is a very interesting one. It's definitely well known to be as one of the weaker episodes of Season 5. Here's what happens. SpongeBob falls in love with a Krabby Patty, and he ends up singing a song about why he loves this inanimate object. Okay. But then, the Krabby Patty starts, getting old and moldy. So SpongeBob eats it. Ugh. That's basically the plot of this episode. It's a very weak episode, honestly. And not only that, it's just gross and weird. I mean, we had All That Glitters from Season 4, and that one was not fun either. This one is just as bad as that episode. I think it's well worth to note the writers that don't make SpongeBob fall in love with any more inanimate objects, because they end up turning out like this. While I didn't mind the song, it was just a weird episode overall. SpongeBob falling in love with this random Krabby Patty, and he ended up eating it even though it was moldy, which leaves a very bad message, honestly, at the end. Bad episode. I give it a D. Next up, we have Breath of Fresh Squidward. Honestly, I love this trope of SpongeBob where the characters just become completely 180 of themselves. I mean, if you're having, what are we at now? 16 seasons of SpongeBob? Then you gotta have some, fresh ideas in mind. Or something that's at least interesting. I love seeing the characters become 180 of themselves. Hey, Patrick Smartpants from the season prior was a really great episode, so how about this one? Well, this time Squidward is not grumpy anymore. And he hangs out with SpongeBob and Patrick, which is kind of funny in a way to see that. However, the way SpongeBob treats Squidward in this episode is definitely noteworthy and not cool. Because not only do they break into Squidward's house per usual, which causes him to set up the electric fence, but SpongeBob becomes extremely just jealous that Squidward is getting all this attention instead of him. What? This seems extremely out of character for SpongeBob, who normally would just be happy for Squidward. But, yeah. SpongeBob getting out of character definitely weakens this episode, but I still like this trope. But this, I'd only give it probably like a C or a C-. Next up we have Money Talks. Yeah, this episode is very average. It's very boring. All that happens is that Mr. Krabs' money starts talking to him. So, yeah, I don't remember much of this episode. I just know it's weak, and the song that's in there is below average as well. So, I don't know. This probably gets a C minus as well. Next up, we have SpongeBob versus the Patty Gadget. This one's a really cool episode. Well, a cool short, I should say, where Squidward builds a gadget to overthrow SpongeBob, but no one can beat SpongeBob, as we learned in the original Fry Cook. Well, we didn't learn it, but anyway, moving on. I love the rhyming in this episode, and the part at the end where they bury the Patty Gadget is kind of funny, and it throw you off guard. It would throw you off guard there for a minute. This is SpongeBob writing done pretty good, so yeah, honestly, season 5 might be one of those seasons that I really need to rewatch again because it's been a minute. But I do remember liking this short. I'd give it probably, I'd give it a B. Next up, we have Slimy Dancing. This is an episode that I completely forgot all about and forgot that it was even in season 5. Basically, Squidward is trying to dance, but per usual, he's always bad at what he does because, he can't have a good talent in season 5. But, well, he gets SpongeBob to dance for him, or I guess he goes inside SpongeBob. But at the contest, everyone loses because they were all cheating except for Patrick. And then Patrick somehow wins because plot. This is another very just bizarre and weird episode. I don't remember much of it, but I guess it's fine. It gets a C. Next up, we have the Krusty Sponge. Ooh, this is another very just weak episode of season 5. So, all that happens really is a food critic is happy with the food, so Mr. Krabs ends up tainting the meat yellow. And then everyone gets sick, and Squidward gets tortured in this episode. A lot. He has to wear a SpongeBob costume, so he's there flailing around, and the punishment that Mr. Krabs gets is have Squidward take the judge for a ride on the train? What? Yeah, this is a very bizarre episode. It kind of feels like the one from season 9. I don't remember what it's called, but this episode's just done way, way, way worse than that one. So, yeah, this one would get, like, either a D- or an F tier as well. It's up there as one of the worst from Season 5, for sure. Next up, we have Sing a Song of Patrick. This one's honestly a pretty interesting episode. I feel like it's a very controversial one, too. And personally, I think it's a really great episode and a very overlooked one. Patrick finally isn't too horribly annoying in this episode, and it's fun seeing him try to make up a song. And I feel like this is Patrick mugging the camera in kind of more of a fun way opposed to just annoying or just unnecessary ways like Rise and Shine. But Patrick creates a song which apparently is super annoying. I personally disagree. I think the song is kind of catchy, and yeah, that's my opinion. I think it's a pretty catchy song. So I don't know what's wrong with the town, but yeah, I think it's a pretty good episode overall. I don't understand the hate for this episode. Well, when it does get hate. This gets a B tier. Next episode is A Flea in Her Dome. Well, here we have Fungus Among Us 2.0, but instead of fungus, it's all these weird, fleas. This is a very well-known episode as another one of the most worst episodes of all of SpongeBob. And it shows. I mean, we get so many close-ups of this weird flea and biting SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy, and then it ends up laying eggs. Ugh. Yeah, this is a very gross out type of episode, which definitely feels out of SpongeBob for SpongeBob. And eventually then they just end up flooding them. This is a very bizarre episode. I don't like it. I've definitely grown to dislike it as the years have gone on. So, yeah, this definitely gets either a D- or an F. Next up we have the Donut of Shame. So I feel like this is Rise and Shine but done right. It's a lot more of Patrick running around, but Patrick's running to try to hide this donut that he ate, or just or took a bit. I forget how it was, but he's trying not to have SpongeBob find out, but he ends up finding out anyway and says it's for Patrick. This honestly isn't a bad Patrick episode. It's a fun short overall, so I'd say it gets probably like a C plus. I'd say maybe more a B. Next up, we have the Krusty Plate. So here we have another short because season 5 is full of the shorts. Well, SpongeBob's trying to clean a spot off of a plate, and he tries a whole bunch of different methods, which ends up turning pretty funny. And it gets so bad that the whole Krusty Krab just ends up exploding. But he gets that spot off the plate, so there's that. Another pretty creative episode for a short, so I'd give this one probably like a B+. Next up, we have Goo Goo Gas. A very interesting episode where Plankton turns everyone from the Krusty Krab into babies. And it's definitely an interesting idea. My favorite part of the episode is when everyone turns into old-timers. I think it's pretty funny, and it is definitely a very interesting episode overall, but there's better episodes. But this one ain't bad. I'd give it probably like a B-. Next up, we have Le Big Switch. So in this episode, SpongeBob goes and works for a high-class restaurant, while someone from that high-class restaurant goes and works at the Krusty Krab. It's an interesting-ish episode. I don't know. I just find it a little boring, and it's an episode that I just forget about sometimes. But I guess it's fairly fine. It's good for what it is, so I'd give it like a C+ or, a B. Next up, we have Atlantis SquarePantis. This one is a very controversial episode as well. Most people aren't really the biggest fans of this one, but honestly, why? Why do people not like this episode? Does it feel just kind of like a lazy road trip type of episode, or does it just not compare to the previous specials? Honestly, I really like this special. It feels like almost like if SpongeBob went to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory in a way, but a little different. And I love seeing the SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, Sandy, Mr. Krabs type of episodes. It's fun seeing them go on trips together and stuff. And while, yeah, there may be times of slow pace, but come on, is it really that bad? I think it's honestly really fun with a lot of funny moments as well. And I love the different designs they use in like Mr. Krabs and Squidward's moments. Plus, it has a lot of funny memes in this episode too, like Squidward stepping through a painting Mario 64 style. And honestly, the songs are pretty good too. Like, some of them are just okay, but I think this is a really great episode. And I think it's super heavily underappreciated and overhated, I think, is a good word for it. So, this one, honestly, I'd give it probably a B tier. Next episode we have is Picture Day. This one is just a frustrating episode, honestly. I hate these type of episodes. SpongeBob trying to get to Mrs. Puff's boating school for the picture, but anytime he steps foot outside his house, something has to go wrong, and that's all you get throughout the whole episode. Yeah, this episode is very weak. I don't like watching this one. It's annoying. Watching SpongeBob constantly get, ruined for the picture, so he has to go back. It's just rinse and repeat. Yeah, this is a very below average episode. This gets I don't know. This gets a D, probably like a D-. Next up we have Pat No Pay. Well, here's another short, and this one, once again, just feels very useless. Kind of like Rise and Shine. I just feel like it's just a lot of Patrick just meandering around. So he ate a big meal, but he didn't pay for it. So he has to work at the Krusty Krab, and of course he screws up. I don't know. Patrick was just so much funnier in the older seasons. I mean, at least he isn't being super mean here. But, man, I miss the old Patrick already. Oh yeah, this episode gets like a C-. Next episode we have is Blackjack. This one's a pretty interesting episode where SpongeBob thinks his parents are captured by his cousin, but apparently his cousin is like super small. So I love this mystery story where we're meant to think that he's this big giant bully, but he ends up being just this tiny little creature, tiny little sponge. It's kind of funny, but this episode does get a little dry at times, so I'd give it a B. Next up we have Blackened Sponge. So SpongeBob gets an injury on his eye, and he ends up making up these random stories to everybody that he sees about what happened to his eye instead of what actually happened. I guess it's an interesting episode. Once again, it's not one I necessarily remember, but it's average. I'd give it like a C plus, or maybe a B. B for blackened. I don't know. Next up, we have Mermaid Man versus SpongeBob. Well, this is an interesting take on the typical Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episode, where Plankton hypnotizes Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy into mindless zombies to do whatever he says. Huh. I'm kind of split on this episode. On one hand, it's definitely interesting, but on the other hand, there's just way better Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episodes. So, I think this works well as a C. Next up, we have the Inmates of Summer. So, on one hand, I think this episode is really creative and it is funny, but on the other hand, SpongeBob and Patrick are just so oblivious in this episode. They think that the inmate prison is more fun than the actual camp. Okay? I don't know. This episode feels very, very strange, but I guess it's a fun time overall. And the song that they sing in this episode is interesting enough, so honestly, I'd give this one a B+. We haven't had a B+ in a while. We haven't had a high episode in a while. It's just been a lot of boring ones, honestly. Now I see why I'm not really a big fan of Season 5. It may not be necessarily a lot of Patrick being annoying or Squidward torture. It's just boring. Maybe the next episode is less boring. Although this one isn't too boring either. Next up, we have To Save a Squirrel. This is another just very random episode. And honestly, it's worse than the Inmates of Summer. Just because of one character, Patrick. So, Sandy goes camping, and SpongeBob and Patrick tag along without Sandy noticing. They fall out, and all of the supplies that fall out with them end up getting destroyed because of Patrick. It's like Survival of the Idiots, or whatever it is, from Season 2 all over again, but just a lot less fun just because Patrick's annoying here. And SpongeBob's so spineless in this episode, it's not even funny. But luckily, once they start getting into the cave, the episode gets a little more interesting again. But, oh man, that part where they're just sitting around waiting is just... It reminds me of the episode Waiting. So because of that, this episode gets like a D+, I'd say. Next up, we have Pest of the West. Man, first Dunces and Dragons from Season 4, and now this? What if the whole SpongeBob crew were just cowboys? Well, it would turn into a pretty interesting episode. Okay, well, minus the first, little half of the episode, where they're just meandering along. But after that, this episode does get pretty interesting. And the songs in this episode are pretty good as well. So, I think this one gets an A tier. Next up, we have 2,000 Patties Under the Sea. It's interesting seeing SpongeBob and Patrick almost doing like a catering business. Well, not catering, but just going out from the Krusty Krab to sell patties. We've seen this done before, but I don't know. The adventure they go on is just a little boring. I think the episode in Season 11, Scavenger Hunt, or whatever, not Scavenger Hunt, but the one where Sandy and SpongeBob go on a scavenger hunt, I think is way more interesting. So, this one gets a C tier. Next up, we have the Battle of Bikini Bottom. No, not the video game. No, there's an episode, which is very strange. And honestly, the concept is very weird. Clean and dirty, deciding which one's better or worse. However, I will say, other than those things, this episode is really funny, honestly. Where it's basically SpongeBob versus Patrick in whether clean or dirty is which one's better. It's kind of an interesting concept. To say the least, even if it is very random. But I love a lot of the funny moments. I love a lot of the moments like SpongeBob taking Patrick's coat off, or the digging for gold scene. And then I like how at the end Patrick becomes clean and SpongeBob becomes dirty. It's a very, bizarre episode, but it is a very entertaining one and interesting and funny. So it gets probably either a B+ or like an A-. Next up, we have Whatever Happened to SpongeBob, or Who Bob What Pants. This is a very controversial episode. Most people can agree it's a very below-average episode, and you can definitely see why. SpongeBob's friends are mean to him for no reason and call him names like Idiot Boy, and the story itself is very bizarre. But on the other hand, at least compared to a lot of the other Season 5 episodes, this is actually an interesting episode for once. And I like how SpongeBob's friends realize what they did was wrong and want to apologize to him. Well, except for Squidward, but that's fine. Squidward is Squidward. But this is actually a very interesting episode. And while I would say there could be things that could have been done better, it's not a horrible episode. It's not as bad as what people say. This would get probably about a C+, I'd say. Next up, we have The Two Faces of Squidward. This is another well-known episode, but in the opposite way. It's well known as one of the best episodes from Season 5. And, I mean, I can see why. But something that's kind of funny that I noticed is that Season 5 doesn't have a lot of Squidward-centered episodes. I wonder if they were preparing for all the Squidward torture that we would get in Season 6. But, who knows? But, I'm glad that, this episode turned out really well. And, of course, it has the meme of handsome Squidward. I love how Squidward just looks so goofy as handsome Squidward. It's funny and hilarious. But the concept of itself is hilarious. Squidward gets hit by a door, then he just becomes handsome. Only in SpongeBob would this ever make sense. And yet it still doesn't. It's a great episode though. Definitely an A tier. Next up we have SpongeHenge. Yeah, this is another just very random episode. Season 5 just had so many random episodes. The cast going to Atlantis, Squidward becoming handsome, what? And now SpongeBob being left in a cave all alone for many, many years? Yeah, this is a very strange episode, and while I do like it, I start to notice the problems of this episode. Like, the first half is literally just SpongeBob not being able to get to work even though, he has to get to work. I hate stuff like this. You have to get somewhere, but something is, interfering with it, and in this case, the jellyfish. However, I do kind of like the music that plays through SpongeBob's holes. It is kind of a catchy, calming piece, in a way. But it's still a very, very strange episode of SpongeBob. But I think overall I'd give this episode a B tier. Next we have Band in Bikini Bottom. Honestly, this episode's goofy. I don't understand the hate for this episode. It's hilarious. I love the ladies the lawyer ladies. They're kind of funny, and I love how the main one is married to the police officer. And the song that SpongeBob sings is kind of goofy too, the I Love Krabby Patties song, with a season full of songs, by the way. But yeah, this one ended up being honestly a fairly good one, but I think it's just because it's honestly finally not a boring episode. It kind of reminds me of the episode SpongeBob's Place from season 10. But I don't know, I'd almost prefer this one over that one, because this one has those funny lawyer ladies. Plus, it's fun seeing them work in SpongeBob's Pineapple. And when the lawyer lady, I don't remember their names, finally tasted the Krabby Patties, then they obviously unbanned the Krabby Patties. But, yeah, it's just a goofy episode all around, so I don't understand the hate this episode gets. It gets a B tier, I'd say, for me. And last up, we have Stanley S. SquarePants. I'm kind of mixed on this one. On one hand, it is interesting seeing another one of SpongeBob's cousins, but on the other hand, Stanley is a little more just where he basically ruins everything he touches, and that's the whole trope throughout the whole episode, so hope you enjoy that. Yeah, I don't know. Is this really the way to end season 5? Not too sure, but okay. I'd give this episode probably like a C-. And honestly, a great way to summarize Season 5 is just dry. Yeah, honestly, it's just dry. It's a lot of these episodes that I realize now that looking at a lot of them is not necessarily like bad episodes. Some of them, yes. And it definitely is a season that really started with the gross outs, too. But in terms of bad episodes, there honestly isn't as many as other seasons to come. Right, Season 6, Season 7. We'll definitely be getting to those ones eventually, too. Those will be very, very interesting. But, yeah, I don't think Season 5 is as bad as I remember, now that looking at these episodes. It's just boring. So I don't think I would change the Season 5 placement in terms of where I would put that with all the other seasons. I still think it works well as probably, in my opinion, my third least favorite season. Unless if, like I said, I don't like 13, but I don't remember season 13. I'll have to rewatch it again, but yeah, that's SpongeBob Season 5. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.